Thank you guys for your patience. I know I am running late. I'm late. It's 8:38 p.m. I know. I know. I'm late. What's up? Hey, LB. How are you? I'm late, girl. I'm just trying to figure out. Oh, I get it. Figure out this Facebook thing. I think I got it though right now. I think I got it. Just bear with me. Albita, thank you for coming back. Thank you. Uh, uh, um, Trying to figure out how to share this thing. Should have done this earlier, like at 7:30, like a responsible human being, of course. Share to the page. All right. We are a go. Thank you for joining. My name is Lisette Carter. I am the author of Rookie Wifey and Rookie Mommy. I am also a mindset coach. I teach women how to gain victory over their thoughts so that they can gain victory over their personal lives. Hello, Chris. Hello, Renata. Hello, Emily. Welcome, Elvita, LB, everybody just joining in. I appreciate you guys for tuning into Rookie Wifey Wednesday live show. And I know I was going to touch on some communication issues when it comes to texting with your husband, but I'm not going to do that anymore. Surprise! You're welcome. I'm actually going to be covering 3 reasons to date with a purpose and why thank you next is BS. I know. I was supposed to give you some Rookie Wifey Wednesday wisdom, but this is for all of you guys that are in relationships, that are dating, or maybe waiting to date, or kind of looking around, trying to play the field, trying to figure things out. And let me tell you, I was having a conversation with a teenager the other day, and she was telling me about a relationship that she's in and some issues that she was having with her man. And what she would say is, hey, Tim, one of the things that she said to me was, you know what, it's really not a big deal because I probably won't be marrying him. He's probably not going to be the guy that I'm going to end up marrying. And that to me was like a huge, first of all, it broke my heart because, I mean, how many people do you expect to date before you meet somebody? I mean, what's the point of dating really other than trying to figure out if they're right for a long time committed relationship or hopefully a marriage, right? And so that was a huge red flag for me when I was in my 20s because I remember when I was dating and I've had, long-term relationships and short-term relationships, and honestly, it was just like a mess when I was doing that. I didn't go about them the right way. They didn't have good foundations. And when I heard the song that Ariana Grande has that's called Thank You Next, I was like, oh, that's different. It's got a nice beat. It's kind of catchy. But honestly, from my perspective, I didn't learn jack from my exes. I really didn't. The only time that I feel like I really learned anything was from my marriage. And here's why. Because when you're not committed to somebody in a marriage, where you learn that marriage is, there's no way out outside of infidelity or death, and the purpose of marriage is to be like, you're your husband's rib. You know what I mean? You're his partner. You're there whether things go right or not. And a lot of people don't understand that in a marriage. And so when my husband and I were going through things in the beginning of our marriage, it was, hi, Nori. It was very easy. I mean, when I was in a relationship and was going through things and I wasn't married, it was so easy for me to be like, you know what? If we don't really agree on the same thing, peace out, bye. If you don't like the way that I do stuff, peace out, bye. Hi, Elisa. And so it was really easy for me to walk away from a relationship when it really wasn't going my way. Now, when I was married, that's a whole different ballgame because you really do need to learn. And I know it sounds cliche. You really do need to learn how to compromise, and you learn how to grow yourself and say, you know what, if I don't really get my way, there's got to be a new there's got to be a way that I need to grow from this so that we can both have a happy marriage. I mean, you're not going to get your way when you're in marriage, and you can't just walk away. You know, people that say, oh, well, we weren't really in love anymore. We were going our separate ways. Honestly, like, that is just not, that is not for better or for worse. That doesn't work that way. So what I learned right before I had actually had started dating the guy that I was going to marry was that I needed to learn how to date with a purpose. You can't just date people because you're lonely, or because you got, hi Lisa, or because you guys are you think you're a good fit. You really do have to learn that there's a purpose behind dating. Otherwise, you are wasting your freaking time. Don't waste your time if there is no purpose behind it. Okay? Hi Angel, hi Melissa. So this was very important for me to understand. And I actually learned this when I was going through a big phase of I've always been into personal development, but when I really dived into personal development, when I was single and I was living in the city and I was building my own business and building my career, I had to really learn the difference between dating for fun and dating because you're lonely and dating with a purpose. Okay? So there are 3 ways to date with a purpose. And honestly, when I heard, thank you next, for me is BS. I didn't learn from anything from my past relationships because I didn't stick around long enough for me to grow personally. Does that make sense? Like when I look at all of those other relationships and then I look at my marriage, I have grown and I have learned so much from staying in my marriage, choosing to stay in my marriage and choosing to work on it than I did with any other relationship that I've ever had. So no, thank you next, for me, is BS. It doesn't, you don't learn things from being in, you learn things, and she does say in the song that she learned a lot from herself when she spent time with herself. That is accurate. That you will learn. So 3 ways to date with a purpose. The first thing that I had to do when I learned about dating with a purpose was I wrote down all of the qualities that I wanted my man to have, okay? So I wrote down I wanted him to be, and it was very specific too. So I wanted him to have his own business. I wanted hi Nancy, I wanted for him to be as ambitious as I was, somebody that not only was working in a business, but also understood the importance of passive income, because I didn't want to be in a marriage or in a relationship where he was going one way and I was going another. I wanted us to be working on something together. So those were things that I had put down on paper, and I wrote down probably about maybe like 40, 50 things of qualities that I wanted a man to have. Now, honestly, you know, I put down everybody's taller than me. I mean, my toddler's taller than me, so that's not that's not really a good thing to put down. But like, you know, things like tall, dark, and handsome, or you know, just little things like that. And I didn't even think to put down there, you know, like not married or no kids or whatever. And I'm glad I didn't, because God wanted that for me. You know what I mean? There are different aspects of my relationship that most women don't want. Like, I don't want a man that has kids. I don't want a man that has a baby mama. I don't want a man that has those things. But you really do limit yourself when, you know, you're looking for something that, you know, you want a man that doesn't have any of those things. But unfortunately, that's the world that we live in. People have kids. They have been married before. And I was actually, when I saw how my husband was with his kids, and he learned from his last marriage what not to do and what to do, that to me appealed to me than somebody who was just gonna like figure it out. So for me, that was a plus. But I say that to say that I put all of these things down. I wrote every single thing down that I wanted in a man, and I wrote them down on paper. That was the number one thing I did. I wrote about 40 to 50 qualities that I wanted him to be a family guy. I wanted him to want kids. I wanted to have a mindset of creating assets. I wanted him to know that number one for me was know God and build a relationship with God. That was very important to me. And then after I made that list, I didn't go out into the world and start looking for the guy. I literally just said, God, I'm going to give this to you. You said that you would give me the desires of my heart if I had faith. This is what I want in a man, and I know that you know me better than I know myself. So this is what I have right here. This is my list, and I give it to you. And I'm not going to chase it. I'm not going to look for him. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. So what I did was I put it away, put it like in a drawer. I actually forgot about it. And what I did was, instead of focusing on the fact that I was 25 and I didn't have a man, and everybody in my family was calling me a monja, which is a nun, they were asking me, like, you're either a lesbian or you're a nun because you don't have a man. And in my family, or Puerto Rican Hispanic tradition, not tradition, but like, it's just, back in the day, you were having kids or you were getting married really, really early. And for me personally, I was like, nope, I'm just gonna I'm gonna wait it out. I'm not gonna do it that early. So I really had to forget about all of those things. Nancy says compliments you for sure, not a crutch or loss of your self-identity. Yeah, I really had to put aside those thoughts of loneliness and being like, when am I going to find a man? When am I going to get married? I'm getting old. I need to have kids. I really did need to put all of that aside because that can really consume your mind. I had to really just say, you know what, God, if I'm going to give something to you, I cannot worry about it and I cannot stress about it. Because there is something in when you're praying for something and then all you do is stressing about it and you're talking about it negatively, you're really nullifying all of the prayers that you're talking to God about. So the moment that you go into prayer and say, God, I give this to you, you really have to give it to him. Like, you need to shut up. There was a story in the Bible about when God came to a guy. I'm going to butcher it because I can't remember who it was. God came to a guy and he said, hey, I'm going to give you a son, or I have this promise for you. I'm going to give you a son. And he thought in his mind, well, I'm old. Like, how can that happen? And he sewed his mouth shut. There was an angel that sewed the dude's mouth shut because you've got to understand that your words have power and they create things. So the moment that you start speaking negatively or you start nullifying what you're praying for, you're literally you're speaking death into it. So you've got to understand that if you're going to give something to God, you give it to him and you shut up. That's it. An angel's not going to come down and sew your mouth shut. That's your responsibility. You've got to know the power of your words. So you've got to give it to God, okay? The third thing I did was mind my own business. Literally, I had a business that I needed to take care of. And so what I did was immerse myself in personal development. I went into studying more about my career and also sharpening my skills. I went into sharpening my people skills, making sure that the areas, I would ask God, sharpen the areas of my life that you see that need to be sharpened. I got into the word. I got really close to God. There were things that I was doing to accelerate myself, not only personally, on every level, personally, spiritually. I was in the gym. I was working on my body, on my fitness. I don't want to seem like it's selfish, but I was focused. I wasn't focused on the things that I didn't have. I was focused on the things that I did have. And at the time, that was a great career, and that was my health, and that was me. Hey, I have the opportunity to be by myself right now. I'm going to take advantage of that and figure out what are the areas that I need help in growth. That's the time for me to travel. That's the opportunity for me to spend time with my friends and my family, because when you're in a relationship, it kind of consumes you at some point. So I wanted to take the time and grow, and that's exactly what I did. And when I immersed myself in growing myself and growing my business and growing my career, and I started seeing all of that flourishing, that's when God was like, your man's here. And I remember my husband then, I didn't even like him. Like, I knew him. We were in the same circles, but I was like, he had been married, he had kids. I was like, I'm not really, like, when he told me he liked me, I'm like, there's no way. I'm actually really focused on myself right now. So this is really bad timing. This is not going to work for me. And one of the things that I realized was that because I took those steps, God was saying, hey, you gave your faith to me, you gave your list to me, you did what you needed to do with the life that I gave you. You know, you created purpose, even when you didn't think that. You created purpose in your life with what I gave you. You weren't thinking of the lack of, oh, I don't have a man. You know what I'm saying? So I made sure that I took care of my business, took care of the things that God gave me instead of looking at the lack. And when I did that, that's when the man came. I didn't go looking for him. I wasn't searching. I wasn't on, we didn't have Tinder. Like when people talk to me about that stuff, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like they swipe left, swipe right. I have no clue. I don't know what you're talking about, because we just had, Facebook was just starting. We didn't have any of that stuff. So, you know, when he came, I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm just minding my own business right now. I don't really need a man, especially one with kids. Like, I'm good. And obviously, we ended up, when we decided to date with a purpose, where we were figuring out, okay, if we're going to date, it's because it's to figure out if we're going to be married. And for me, we didn't even really date. Like we hung out a couple times. And when my husband proposed to me, which was, he didn't really ask. He was basically like, he called me on the phone and he said, listen, I got the ring. This is after a month of hanging out with him. And I was like, what do you mean you got the ring? And he goes, I got the ring. You know, so we can get married. And I'm like, I don't understand. I don't understand what's happening. What do you mean you got the ring? And I'm like, we haven't even dated. Like, what are you talking about? And he said, no, I'm going to marry you to date you. I'm not going to date you to marry you. And when you have that kind of mentality, when I saw that he had that mentality, it was very difficult for me to be like, no. And I wanted somebody that was bold and was also going to put me in my place, because I have a strong personality and I need someone that's going to be like, no, like you need to slow your roll a little bit. So I don't respect anybody that I can step all over. You know what I'm saying? So when I saw his boldness and he said that to me, I said, all right, that's good. And then I went back and looked at a list that I had made, and 95% of the things that were on there, he had. And God had came through on that. And the 5% that he didn't have was the superficial stuff, like tall, dark, and handsome. I mean, he's tall and he's handsome. But, you know, at the time I was like, oh, obviously I'm going to be with somebody from the Caribbean, or, you know, someone, or black or whatever. And he's white. Or I'm sorry, he's not white. He's European American. That's a whole nother subject. But I want to tell you that when I saw that list and I saw that God really came through with that, and I really needed to take this seriously, that's when I realized that dating with a purpose really does have a lot of weight and it has a lot of significance. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of soul ties. If you don't know what a soul tie is when you have premarital sex, or you have sex with somebody that you're not married to, and your souls become knit, and you're basically they're taking a piece of you. And so that is very detrimental to your emotional health, your spiritual health, and you're taking away a lot of the intimacy that you should be having with your husband, that you're having with all of these other people. And soul ties are tied to like the things that they give you, you know, having them on Facebook or social media, or having their phone number and stuff like that, where you're giving the enemy room to come in to your thought life and say, oh, so-and-so just popped into my head. I wonder how he's doing. And then you go and check, oh, he's going through a difficult time. Oh, let me ask him, you know, how's he doing? You know, just things like that just trickle and they just snowball and they just get out of control. And that's where affairs can start to happen. Affairs happen in the mind. Soul ties is a whole nother training. But I say all that to say that there's a lot of, when you're just dating because you're lonely, or, you know, and there's no real future to that, or you just, you know, you're not doing it with the intent of getting married, and you're just doing it because whatever, he's cute, you know, we have a lot in common. Do not waste your time with that, because thank you, next. I learned nothing from my ex. Nothing outside of the fact that I created soul ties, and I needed to learn how to get rid of them, which is a whole nother training for another day. So understand that when you're dating with a purpose, these are the 3 things that you can do. Again, I'm just going to go through them real quick. You make a list of all of the qualities that you want them to have. And you can pray about that too. God, what do you want them to have? You know, what is it, something that you know that I need that I don't know yet? Make a list. Put the list away, pray over it, have faith. That's number 2. Give it to God. Give your list to God. Give your wants you need to God, and shut up. Don't talk about it with your friends. Don't talk about, oh, I need a man. I'm looking for a man. Oh, you have a brother? Like, stop. Don't talk about it. If you're going to give it to God, you have faith that he's going to take care of that. And the moment that you start opening your mouth and yapping away, you're nullifying and you're saying to God, you know what? I can take care of this. I shouldn't have prayed to you. That hurts, but that's the truth. Number 3 is mind your own business. Start working on yourself. Those qualities that you want your husband to have, you should probably have them too. You want your man to have money and to take care of you. Why don't you have money and take care of yourself? You know what I'm saying? You want somebody that's kind and respectful. Why don't you learn to be kind and respectful? Especially on social media, when you're sitting there bashing everybody, bashing politicians, bashing X, Y, and Z. You need to have those qualities too if you're going around saying, or you put in your list that you want a husband that has X, Y, and Z. That may have hurt your feelings, but it was necessary. So I hope you enjoyed this show today. Rookie Wifey Wednesday live show, 3 reasons to date with a purpose and why. Thank you next is BS. Just BS. Thank you next. I never learned anything from my ex. Ever. There you have it. Make sure you get my book, Rookie Wifey. Thank you guys so much for the reviews. I appreciate it. Sometimes I'm like, wow, what is happening? And it's really nothing that I did. It's something that, God put on my heart because he wanted to make sure that people knew how to go about their relationships and their marriages and how to treat them. So I want to say thank you for all of the reviews. I am actually going to have an event on February 23rd with Natalie Garcia that is going to be amazing. It's actually going to be a weekend event. The pricing actually has come down on it. Check out my website for more information, lisettecarter.com, or on Facebook, where I'm going to be sharing it tonight. I hope to see you guys there. There's going to be a lot of great personal development women training. But other than that, I will see you next week. I'll see you next week. Okay? If you're dating or you're single, do those 3 things. It'll change your life. It changed my life. For real. Or share it with your friends. Share it with those friends that are like, I can't find a man. This might help them. The book might help them. So thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you have any comments or questions, drop them below. Have a great week. Thanks, Renata.